Let's go! If we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
Woo!
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm gonna get washed in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
PN Radio.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
Portal watch this, Portal watch that.
The dog Mama Duke. People say I like that dog.
What are you talking about playing walk-on? Who do you think walked onto the team?
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jameson. He scores!
Here's Brian Higgins.
Friday, Easter weekend. Glad to have you in. If you're working on your way home, traveling, whatever it may be here on this Friday, welcome in here in the Q's, Utica, Rome. What's up, Rome? Q Sports Talk, QSportsTalk.com, Q Sports Talk on the YouTube. That Q Sports on the Talk on the YouTube got a little mention on the old Pat McAfee show earlier today, eh? Yeah? Fran Brown. Yes, sir. Twitch, get in the chat. Let's go. Let's have a Friday. What do we got going on in the show today? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Mario will be by in half an hour. Lots to talk about as always with Mario. We'll get the six-pack. We'll hear from the man that sort of knows. Portal watch, basketball, football, coaching change in the women's basketball staff. One of Felicia Leggett-Jack's assistants, Christian Sharkey, getting a head job. Congrats to her. Getting to that. Women's lacrosse, yeah. That didn't go well yesterday. They took it on the chinny chin chin from Boston College last night. Little bracketology's out for men's lacrosse from our guy Terry Foy at Inside Lacrosse. Where do the men land? We'll get into that. Where in the world is Trevor Pena? We follow his journey. Where will his eventual landing spot be? How desperate are they? Will they pay up? Many, many questions here on a Friday, and a couple of tackles officially in the portal from Fran Brown's football team headed toward the exits. All that and much, much more here on this fine Friday, including and especially your calls at 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Phone lines open throughout today. Whatever you'd like to chime in on, always welcome. Week out from the NFL draft, or are we a week out from Kyle McCord Day? Will he go in round 2 or round 3, which is a week from tonight? What the hell will my Giants do to annoy me to no end next week? They'll either annoy me next week or in like 2 years where it clearly didn't work. It's one or the other, maybe both. We'll find that out together. But welcome in here on this Friday, this holiday weekend. Glad to have you in as we take you toward the weekend here today. Without further ado, let's kick things off.
We start with the Burdick BMW opening drive.
Okay, am I seeing breaking news in the chat? Hang on. We may have to just rip up what we're doing. Hang on. Oh no. Oh, we have breaking news. And not at a good time. I'm seeing this from the Rivals Portal Twitter account. 24/7. Mike McAllister. Oh, it's McAllister official. Oh, no. Murad Watson, Syracuse freshman defensive tackle, who frankly was pretty darn good, I thought, as a freshman. Like, had to play a lot due to injuries, but I thought he played pretty well. Murad Watson's in the portal. Oh, no. That, honestly, we look at this week where you look at players in the portal. Enrique Cruz entered the portal earlier today. What will the Syracuse tailgate do now? Probably come up with another name, but that name was so good. I know. I don't know what they'll do. David Woolaba's in the portal. We kind of knew a few weeks ago that was going to happen. Trevor Pena going into the portal earlier this week. I look at, things that are players and things important to the roster this year. Players and things important to the roster this year. And Trevor Pena probably had a better season last year than Murad Watson. However, one is going to compare the type of season that a fifth-year slot wide receiver had to the type of season that a freshman defensive tackle had. However, one compares those things, and I don't know how one compares those things. Pena probably had the better season. Now, as we get here to the end of the week, Fran warned us they were going to get away from him on Friday, and they weren't going to look him into the eyes. They were going to go home for Easter and get in the portal. I don't know that that's what happened. But Murad Watson's one that's like, that one stings a little bit here. Because of, as Fran always says, the big guys beat up the small guys. And Murad was a good, young, big guy. He had an excellent freshman season at defensive tackle, especially considering him and Rashad Perry, the volume of snaps that got tossed on them once Tank Wilson got hurt, and it's just like they were the two main guys in the middle of the line by the end of the season. It looked at the spring game, all right, Tank's back, you got those two guys, you got a little depth here, and man, the more the merrier when you talk about defensive linemen, and especially D tackle. Like, you need some dudes, you need a lot of dudes. This one's a tough one. Now, I think this one will be very interesting to see where he lands because, Trevor Pena is right now, he's visiting Penn State this weekend. Obviously, there's been a lot of Miami rumors. Both Penn State and Miami. Penn State was in the playoff last year. They made the Final Four. Miami would have been in the playoff if not for Trevor Pena and Kyle McCord knocking them off. Both of them are in need of wide receivers. Penn State's wide receiver room is barren right now. They have a potential NFL quarterback in Drew Aller. You look at Miami, they lost their best guy, Xavier Restrepo, is going to be in the draft this year. They've brought in the QB from Georgia and Carson Beck. So, like, you look at it from Pena's view, like, both of those are potentially good situations. Both of those places, he could be a Penn State wide receiver one, or at Miami, certainly one of the lead guys in the passing attack this year. So that's the one thing. Murad Watson, man, like, I get it. D tackle, it's not a glory position always, but you need the big dudes, right? You need the big dudes. Watson's from New Jersey, so he's from the home area, cultivated by Fran. Like, this is one where, like, he was a good player, man. He was a good player. He was a really good player. He was a freshman All-American from 24/7, and I thought it was one with him and Perry, and this is the problem with college sports these days and trying to project the future. And this tells you why it is so damn impossible to project the future. Like, I remember, we were getting late in last year, and Tank's out and this and that, and Watson and Perry are getting all of this playing time as defensive tackle. And at the time, it's like, well, this probably isn't ideal for, like, the game, like, right now. They're both good players, but they're freshmen. They're defensive tackle. Like, that's a tough spot to get in there in these real big boy games at defensive tackle and play. And admittedly, they both handled themselves very well. Watson maybe a little better than Perry, but I thought both had very good freshman seasons, especially considering positionality where they were at. What do they say? The closer you are to the ball, the harder it is to play younger. Defensive tackle, it's very close to. They put the ball right there in front of them. There's a yard. There's the neutral zone, and then they're right there. So you gotta clear out and go for it. But it was one where last year you dared to give yourself a chance to think, well, this could pay significant dividends down the line. You might have a pair of defensive tackles that get to play with each other for 3 or 4 years. You just can't think like that anymore in college sports. You can't. And I don't blame Watson. I'd kind of be stunned. Who knows? I don't know Murad Watson from a hole in the wall. He'd put a pretty big hole in the wall. He's north of 300 pounds. But Jersey guy, like this is in the meaty area of Fran Brown's, recruiting zone, Jersey, right? Played a ton, played well. Who knows the reason? We always jump immediately to assume the reason is NIL in this day and age. Probably is, but who knows? Like NIL, tampering, whatever. Like I feel in this day and age, it is way more likely that's the reason somebody's transferring than not, especially somebody that was playing a lot. Like this is clearly not playing time. I don't know. So we'll see where he ends up. I think in many ways, if Pena ends up at Penn State or Miami or, Texas Tech's throwing around cash or whatever, it'll be like, okay. It'll be very interesting to see where Watson ends up because this is in the meaty heart of Fran Brown's recruiting base. One of his initial gets. Like, this all made sense for this guy to be on the roster. And he got an opportunity, and he succeeded. And now let's see if he goes to where the big money is. Like, is he going to be at the SEC? At the SEC. In the SEC. Whatever. San Diego Q's telling me he chose Syracuse over Tennessee last year initially. Like, you going to be on the other side of the line of scrimmage for the opener this year? I don't know. But a guy like that goes in the portal. A guy like that goes in the portal. Unless he was, and Fran said, like, if you tamper with his guys, he's coming for you. So, if anyone was out there tampering for Watson, Fran knows where you live, and he has a particular set of skills. Yeah, don't question why he knows your address. He does. But this one, honestly, to me, this is harder to take for me than Pena. This one's harder to take for me than Pena. This one, honestly, more than Pena, assuming it's NIL. And again, I'm just assuming. This one, more than Pena, tells me, regardless of what Fran did last year, and regardless of the great work that he's done here in the last 16, 17 months, this one, if Watson's going to an SEC team or a Big Ten team or something like that, if he's going to pick whatever big boy school you want, it doesn't matter, just pick one. Pick one of the big money schools out there. If that's what happens, that kind of tells you where Syracuse's spot is in the football world, regardless of what Fran has accomplished over the course of the last year. This kind of tells you, right? Like, if you lose a freshman D-tackle, it ain't over playing time. I don't know what we're paying Murad Watson. I'm sure he was paying him something. Like, because this is a type of guy you wouldn't want to lose. Fran is very specific. We like big guys. They've been recruiting size, both sides of the line. I don't know. Honestly, I'm way more intrigued now. Like, I know the big story of the week is Pena, and obviously Fran's response to Pena and all of that, and that it's legitimate and it's obvious. I am way more intrigued to see where Watson lands than where Pena lands. Way more intrigued. Because I think that will be significantly more telling. Like, Pena is almost a luxury piece for some of these schools now. Like, Pena's going to a big-time school that's got big-time goals and whatever. Like, if Murad Watson goes to, I don't know, say a lower-level SEC school just because they all got loads of cash, like, that'll be telling. That'll be telling. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I have no idea. This news just broke within the last 20 minutes. But, man, we're just formulating our thoughts. Literally, it broke as we were coming on the air today. But another player in the portal, I was going to come on and tell you we're going to talk Pena. He's visiting Penn State today. I'm like, okay, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. we're going to mention that Enrique Cruz and Dave Willaba are in the portal. All right, makes sense. Dave Willaba, Fran already said that out loud a couple weeks ago. Enrique Cruz went from starting at tackle 2 years ago to essentially not playing last year. Clearly not in the plans. Makes sense. This one, like, even with Pena, I can, you don't want to, right? But I can argue it from the football side of things. Like, if you want to argue the thing that Pena's, if you take everything Fran said and like, all right, maybe he's a little worried that he's got to play with the first-year starter and Ricky Collins, and he's worried about his future in the draft and wants to go play with a guy that's clearly going to be in the NFL draft next year, which Aller or, Carson Beck or whatever is going to be. All right, like, I can argue that. Murad Watson, it's hard to come up with any reason off the top of the dome that would be anything other than NIL. It's hard to. Like, he's from Jersey, like the whole thing. And then, all right. Well, that stinks. Fran did say, Friday, watch out for Friday. Players go home for Easter. They don't got a lookie in the eye anymore. Then they can sneak away. Again, I don't know what Murad Watson said, did, or who knows. But as of 15 minutes ago, the news is that he's in the portal. We didn't even hit the portal watch open today. That's how distressed we are by this terrible news on a Friday afternoon. All right, there's our Burdick BMW opening drive. Phone lines open, 315-437-7644. We're going to go slam our head against something. We're back after this. Give Sports Talk ESPN Radio. What's up, chat? Oh, no. Yeah, San Diego Q's. Now you got something else to talk about. Hey, look, it's Mike.
It's got to be really nice being a coach for any school in the SEC right now.
Yeah, just like,
you don't have to recruit anymore.
no, they're just like, so I heard you got the money.
You're just like, this guy led the nation in 3-point percentage. How do you like $2.5 million? It's just crazy.
It could be Orange Johanna. I don't know. Like I don't. But at the same time, if that was the case, like if that's why Watson was leaving, why didn't he leave last in December?
What is this?
Oh, Jordan had Stephen Pauly predict WrestleMania.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I don't entirely know what happens at WrestleMania.
They have wrestling matches.
So, like, is it like a tournament?
No.
So they just predicted like every match, kind of like a UFC card?
Yes.
Okay.
Except the outcomes of these predetermined.
That is true. But unknown, though. So.
Especially to Stephen Pauly.
Yes. Yeah, especially, yeah.
To Steve.
I mean, if you ask many sports fans, they say that the UFC is also predetermined. So isn't the NFL and NBA and MLB. And
I don't think we can gamble on WrestleMania in New York, San Diego Q's. I don't know if you're allowed to bet on WrestleMania in New York. I feel that's the same reason you can't bet on like the NFL draft and stuff.
Wait, can you bet on the predetermined fights though? Because I guess
no,
like
there are
nobody
places
knows.
you actually can bet on it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess nobody knows, but the people doing it. So
yeah, but you see like wild odd swings when like information clearly
yeah
somewhere. I'm just like. Brr.
Do you think McMahon was allowed to bet on matches?
Yeah, I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess that could be a bit of an issue.
This is crazy. 35 sacks in the last 2 years, and you're going to trade him because you just can't afford him.
Yeah, just pay the dude, man. Like, figure it out.
Yeah. I can't. The Bengals, how they've been doing everything just doesn't make sense to me. You've had these guys on your roster for 4 to 5 years, give or take who it is that they're trying to pay right now. How do you not stagger the contracts within that 5 years?
Yeah, no, it's just terrible.
You
planning.
had so much time to figure it out, and you're just like, nah, we'll figure it out when it comes.
You know, Orange Johanna, I don't know. Their RPI and stuff is actually, I mean, the women's tournament's bigger. They may actually still make it.
Q Sports Talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, a little long here on, it's Friday. Murad Watson! He's gone. We hardly knew ye. All right, friend, go get somebody else. Murad Watson, the breaking news just as we came on the air today. The Orange freshman All-American defensive tackle has landed in the transfer portal. Well, it's not that he landed. He put himself in the transfer portal. So Willaba, Cruz, and now Watson on this Friday. Two kind of yep, and then one like, oh boy, here we go. So honestly, I said it last segment, the Trevor Pena thing, it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot of moving parts there, but if he goes to Penn State or Miami or whatever, you're like, all right, that's kind of what it is. That's kind of what it is. To lose a guy like Watson at this point when, he's playing, he's just going to be a sophomore, he's from Jersey. Like, if he goes to clearly a place that's an NIL hotbed, a.k.a. the SEC, then it's just like, So that'll be something to keep a very, very close eye on here going forward. All right, phone line's available, 315-437-7644. Mario coming up in about 10. We'll start it off this Friday with Scooter. What's up, Scoot?
Well, I tell you, I think we got at least another fun horse to root for the 315, Carl Spangler, because since you're a golfer, he's going to run a lot. He's on the turf, and he won his first race back. So there's another horse that we can have fun with for the 315 and make some money.
Okay, we like that.
But a couple things. First of all, I mentioned it a while back, and of course fans don't know what they're talking about. We're not supposedly scouts or don't see players and figure out stuff. But I mentioned on your show that I thought that Sanders was overrated. And if he's going to be going the first or second quarterback, I think that it's a mistake. And I thought McCord is better prepared for the NFL than Sanders. And one of it was based on when they played Brigham Young in the bowl game, in the Alamo Bowl, perfect weather conditions. Travis Hunter, everybody played. It was supposed to be a coronation of Colorado, because Colorado thought they were going to be in the playoffs until they lost to Kansas. Mm-hmm. And to me, he was frustrated. Brigham Young frustrated him. He couldn't read the defense. And I'm sitting there going, this is Brigham Young. This is, here's McCord going against Miami and basically breaking down their defense pretty good. And here's Sanders, that basically everything was set up for him. And Brigham Young just basically, if you go back and look at his stats, I don't know if he had some pile-on stats at the end, but man, he was frustrating. I said, if you can't read the Brigham Young defense, what's going to happen in the NFL? And that's where I think McCord, unfortunately, I think McCord's sort of like a knuckleball pitcher in baseball. People are afraid to take him the first choice because it doesn't work out. They're going to get ripped. But you look at Donald, the quarterback from Minnesota. Tell me the difference between McCord and Donald. I think McCord's got a stronger arm. Give him those receivers inside a dome stadium. Tell me what Donald's got over McCord.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold may have a slightly stronger arm than McCord. It's hard to say. I think McCord's arm is adequate enough. He's a very quick processor. Like, I don't know if you watched that QB thing he did with Gruden the other day. Yeah. He's clearly sharp on the whiteboard. Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously you need a special talent, right, for the most part, to start in the NFL. I don't know if McCord's a starting quarterback or not. That's a hard gig to get. But it feels like he's an NFL player where Shedeur, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's a smaller guy. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. But I'd feel better, like, if you draft Shedeur high in the first round, that is a risky get people fired kind of pick. You take McCord in the third or the fourth round, like that's a pick with upside. That's a pick with upside.
Now, Pena is an interesting situation, and I don't know if Fran Brown's been asked or Nixon. I don't know if you can ask him. But what made Pena good was everybody around him. Was he actually the first option on these plays, or did McCord read the defense? And because they had so many good options, Gadsden, Meeks, well, Pena's probably could be third choice when the progression started, but he was able to beat the third best defensive back who they're playing instead of the first or the second. If he's going to Penn State, if he's going to Miami, or a place that expects him to be the go-to guy, I think it's going to be interesting because do we know how many times when he caught the pass, was that play actually meant for him, or it just worked out because that's how the play evolved?
Well, I think that's what's fascinating, because when Fran was on with Stephen Pauly the other day, I think Fran asked them, he's like, hey, who was our go-to guy this year? And Steve just kind of said everybody. Like, my guess is, because, Arande, Pena, and Meeks all had the same stats this year. Like Gadsden, like we started the season, Gadsden was clearly number one on other people's scouting reports because of everything you knew about him in the past. And then Pena went crazy the first 3 weeks. All right, now defenses start to slide to Pena. Then Meeks went crazy. Then Gadsden gets this. It like rotated around. And Fran pretty much said that on Wednesday when he was on the show, that like the design of the offense is to get 3 or 4 guys significant volume every year. That's nothing against Pena, but like especially with McCord, and as good as McCord was last year, like whoever was on the field was going to get significant volume. Now Pena did great work with it. Like he took full advantage of the volume, but yeah, it wasn't like. I mean, I go back in time to the G-Rob years when the season Mike Williams had one year where it's like you had an NFL stud at wideout and the rest of the team was just garbage. Like he was the only guy in the team, the only guy the other team had to work at, and still he was scoring a touchdown every week. It wasn't that. You're absolutely right, Scooter. It wasn't that.
Well, if you go back to the bowl games against Washington State, I'm trying to think. I'm getting old, I guess. I thought Gadsden had a good game, and looked like the receivers are wide open. But I go back to it. Where he's going to Penn State, if he goes to Penn State, I understand that all that, like you said, basically that the receiver room is kind of depleted. I'm surprised about Miami. I mean, I figured remember the old days of Miami, you lose a guy and you got 5 guys waiting.
Yeah, they had Hall of Famers tripping off the bench back in the day.
Exactly. So that's interesting right there. To be honest with you, when you mentioned Tennessee, I heard it, lost 3 of their top receivers. So it would have been ultimate if Tennessee was interested because they got no receivers and they're thinking like, a shot to win and go back to the playoffs. But we'll see. I mean, I wish him well. I liked him. But to me, I just thought how many times I'd go back to that Georgia Tech game. It just looked to me that McCord was looking somewhere else and came back to Pena. And now he's the go-to guy who's supposed to get open. The progression, I assume he's going to be the go-to guy that goes to Penn State or I guess Miami. So he's got to get open. Yeah. And being the first progression. But we'll see. I wish him well, but this transfer portal you just mentioned about Watson, man, I tell you, I don't know. And by the way, I think the craziest thing in the draft is the Boston College quarterback that's coming out. Supposedly him and Purdy were high school rivals. and Purdy's working on his second contract in the NFL. And this guy's just going to be being drafted. So enough said. And I'll go back to when he played Miami. And they showed his daily routine. Walk the dog, go to the store, bring back coffee, and study tapes. Never heard of him going to class, but that's, after 7 years, I guess he's already got the masters and everything else.
Yeah, who needs class at this point? Who needs
class?
All right, Scooter. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brent.
There's Scooter. All right, let's hit a break here. Reopen the phone lines later. 315-437-7644. Mario next. Sacco six-pack and more after this. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Oh, yeah, last year was Pena's first healthy season. Yeah, you're not wrong, Sable. But this Watson one, this one's frustrating. This one's frustrating. We'll see who they bring in. We didn't know Murad Watson from a hole in the wall at this point last year. Oh, yeah, everybody is Super Cat. But I don't care about the rest of them. Yes, Frank. Got a honey-baked ham in the fridge right now. Yeah, I have no idea what they were paying Watson. I'd assume... Now, this is just assuming. Okay, he was a good recruit. Then you probably gave him a little bump in December, right? But clearly not enough. That's my assumption of what happened here. Yeah, let it affect the other teams. Screw the other teams. I don't care about them. He should be. That's the kind of guy you do pay money. You and Kev are beefing?
Yeah.
Why you got beef with Kev?
I asked him a question in the chat, and he just never answered me.
Oh.
So we're beefing, Kev.
All right. I'm going to guess it's the first he's heard about it.
Yeah, probably. I asked him if he said I saw earlier today he was a pineapple on ham type of guy. He said he likes the sweet and salty. So I asked him. I
saw it later, but nothing had happened in the chat, and I replied to him oh, this is from a while ago.
Yeah, I did see that. But I'm
making a pineapple upside down cake.
I saw that, but I asked him if he wanted.
I don't think I'll put it on my ham though. That would be aggressive.
I don't really
because it's a cake.
I don't really understand what a pineapple upside down cake actually is. It's not a very common. It's not everyone knows about it, but I don't feel like it's a common dessert you get.
So you get the can of the pineapple rings.
Yeah.
So you take a cast iron skillet. You put the ring. You put some butter and brown sugar down. You put the rings, and inside each ring you put a maraschino cherry.
Mm-hmm.
Then you pour the cake mix on.
Mm.
Bake it.
I'm getting there now. Why it's upside down makes sense.
And then.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was upside down.
Why aren't all cakes made like that? It seems like a way easier concept. Because you virtually could do that, just not upside down.
You could,
but it wouldn't be as easy.
No.
Are we just gonna start making upside down cakes on the regular basis?
You could. I'm not gonna stop you.
What's really makes a cake upside down or not? I feel
turning it over.
Well, maybe you started the bottom and the top this time,
Well, then I think it would just be right side up.
I feel like it's all objective.
No, I'm pretty sure the turning over is what makes it upside down. I don't think there's anything else that makes it upside down other than the turning over.
You know what's not done enough? Eating burgers or making burgers upside down. Because nothing's natural about coming in like this. You want to...
Yeah.
They need to start making burgers upside down. And that's way easier objectively.
There's the key of you got to put the toppings on in the right order that... You don't want slidage.
Yeah, that's the worst part is when you get too much slidage.
You got to find the right amount of friction between your ingredients.
I'm a big ingredients on the bottom guy, type guy.
I think you got to mix it depending.
That's fair, because cheese is always going on top. Lettuce, I can't have touching the other stuff because I feel like that's where you get the slide.
Well, the lettuce can be slidey. Yeah. A pickle potentially is slidey.
Pickle, yeah.
If your burger's got a little round, it can be slidey.
That is true. Using the meat as a divider, that's going to stop a lot of slippage.
There's a lot of thought that goes into the order of operations.
Are you a mayonnaise ketchup guy on your burger?
I like to. I'll mayo the bun.
Okay.
And then I'll ketchup the burger.
That's exactly what I do.
I also
Mustard?
put a little a pepper on the mayo.
Oh,
Just
a little.
Just a little.
I like that.
Because then the juices go into
I'm
it.
big that on Subway sandwiches. I'll always get salt and pepper if I'm getting like a sandwich.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along. Rod Watson has left. The football program is in shambles. What will we do? Remember when Trevor Pena was the worst thing that ever happened in all of our lives like 2 days ago? Oh, man, the portal. The portal, the portal. Why do we talk about it every day? This is why. Stuff just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. All right, welcome back on this Friday. We'll reopen the phone lines the rest of the way here in a little bit, but first off, we'll bring in our guy, Mario Sacco, on this Friday. Mario, the football program is crumbling beneath us. I don't know what to do. What do you make of Murad Watson in the portal as of a half hour ago? I'm struggling to come up with any reason other than NIL at this point.
Yeah, that sounds like a good reason. Sounds like a good reason for a lot of the guys to hit the portal. But, I mean, he was a guy that started, 11 games last year, had 30-some tackles as a freshman, was a, bright future ahead of him, and now he hits the portal. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it these days with guys coming and going, but Fran Brown will find a way to retool it again. You just lose some depth, a depth piece, so to say, on the interior line on the defensive side.
Yeah, I just remember talking last year, the season was getting on. There was a lot of injuries up front, and then like Watson and Rashad Perry, these two true freshmen, played a ton of time at D-tackle, and you're like, man, this is a tough spot to play as a freshman. It's like, but maybe you can get multiple years out of these guys. You just can't think that way anymore in college. But it's nothing about Watson, right? You just you can't have a multi-year thought anymore.
Yeah, multiple is let's hope they sneak through the end of the year and play all the games in today's day and age. I mean, that was the first thing that when Fran Brown came here, you wanted to bolster both sides of the offensive line and defensive line, and you see the guys that he continues to bring in, big physical guys, and will Watson hurt on the initial outlook? Yeah, it looks like it's going to hurt a little bit, but let's play it out. We still have 6 months before the start of the football season.
Mm-hmm. And I'd say at this point last year, we're like, hey, we heard the name Murad Watson.
That guy was
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I've heard the name before, and that was the extent of our knowledge on him. Obviously, the big story this week surrounding that team is Trevor Pena. The news comes out Monday night, Tuesday morning that he's going into the portal. That it was shocking in one way, even though nothing is really shocking anymore. We heard Fran with Stephen Pauly on Wednesday. What did you just make of how that all transpired this week?
The kind of sticking out to me point was no one's going to make more than our assistant coaches. So that kind of gives you a baseline of what it is. But yeah, Trevor was a very good wide receiver last year under Kyle McCord. He couldn't stay healthy in his previous years, was finally healthy and had a good year. Will it translate to another year? We'll find out. He visited Penn State today. They have a pretty good quarterback that can sling the ball around, and they're in desperate need of a wide receiver since they didn't even throw to him in the national semifinal game. 0 receptions out of their wide receivers. So take it as is. But yeah, it stinks, and now you're going to see guys like, Justice Ross Simmons is going to be relied on, I think, a lot with that football team and the receiving core this year.
Yeah, it's one where I look at their depth chart there, and honestly, you don't want to lose Pena, but I think realistically they're fine. They've got a bunch of guys. But
like last year. Like last year, yes, you had the Oronde Gatstons. You had, you didn't know what you were going to get out of Jackson Meeks coming into the season.
You didn't know what you were going to get out of Trevor Pena coming into the season last year.
Exactly. So, I mean, will it be a hole to fill? Yeah, he was very good. How many of those, fade little patterns? I don't even know if it was a fade because he's only, 5'10", but, balls that he would throw up down the right side and Pena would come up with it for a touchdown. So, steps into those shoes. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of guys, and Emmanuel Ross and some of those other freshmen they had last year, really talented players. I'd say the part that's got to be tough, right? That if you're Fran, like you clearly gave him more NIL in December. You named the guy captain, and then like even that doesn't guarantee you anything anymore, right? Like you try to take care of the situation, and it doesn't matter anymore.
I think that's what stings not only with him, but like the Syracuse fan base of like this guy was named a captain of a football team in December because you thought, you think you can rely on your captains and to be able to lead you. And, 3 months later he turns around and, wants more money. I'm never going to, knock a kid for going and chasing after more money if it's out there. More power to him. But that's the part that stings of like a leader on your team does this to you.
Yeah, and that's the part that I think that Syracuse fans are probably having the hardest swallowing right now.
Not only that, like I don't think you've heard from guys within the program in the past, like Rhino spoke out about it, and like we're not like yes, some fans are knocking the kid, and shame on them, but like we're not knocking the kid for going to get money if it's there.
No,
but the aspect of how it went down, like. The kid played in the spring game. Like I watched him catch a pass right in front of me in the spring game. Like he was, for all we knew, like Fran was raving about him of the steps he was making in spring ball. Him and Justice Simmons-Ross. Like and then to go and 24 hours later, Sam entering the portal and poof, he's gone.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, that's why it never occurred to me, right? Like he was not only was he in the spring game, but he had the no contact jersey on, which is like if you're not a quarterback, that means they're like, yeah, don't hurt that guy because we like that guy.
Like the other ones make sense to me, like Johnson wanting to go out and try and play somewhere. Like that's fine for him. Like good. Like Payne was probably going to get the ball thrown his way. I would guess 90 times this year in some way, fashion. So it wasn't like he wasn't going to be a vocal point of this offense and, try and rise his stock, so to say, to be an NFL player.
Yeah, it's just it's a couple things that's sting, and I think more than anything, right? Like as great of a job as Fran did last year, as fun as the season was last year, you just get these unfortunate constant reminders, right, of the hierarchy of college sports these days.
Yeah, until you're not going to be the Georgias, the Ohio States, even the Penn States. Like we understand that, but like a guy like Trevor Payne, you would think would stick within the program, but that's neither here nor there. He is now gone. And SU will, I'm sure they're looking at a couple wide receivers in the portal as we speak.
Yeah, and now I know Fran has said very overtly he'd like a linebacker, and now I'd imagine they'd like a defensive lineman. So we'll see how it all goes in the portal upcoming here. Crazy times. It never stops. Little basketball portal news since we last talked. I've already forgotten to do Zephyr. Bryce Zephyr. Who I think it's funny the way people react to it, right? Like this guy is not really going to affect the season one way or another last year, but this is just the way of the portal, right? Like anytime somebody comes in and you think he's getting any money at all, it's like, well, is it worth it? Or it's kind of interesting how every guy gets picked apart like this.
Well, you're no longer bringing in 6 freshmen,
right?
You know what I mean? So you got to fill your roster somehow. So fill your roster with a kid that at least played at the Division I level. So I mean, I think that's what Adrian Autry is doing. Do I think they're done in the transfer portal? I don't, with a couple of names that have recently popped up in there. But we will see. But, yeah, you got to fill your roster somehow, and that's what I do believe SU is doing. Is this a guy that's going to play 20 minutes? You would hope not by just looking at, the numbers and other things. But, yeah. He did play with Naheem McLeod. Maybe Naheem put in a good word.
He did. The Chipola Junior College connection.
Who else played at that junior college?
A lot of people, but who's Mario going to say? Who do you got?
It wasn't that's where Corbin, I do believe, went to junior college.
Yes, I think I saw that the other day. That sounds very accurate. No, they're one of the major junior college sports factories out there in Florida that just that churns you through. Didn't Patrick have a nice win the other day? He's doing all right.
cool $1 million he got this year.
Yeah, well, on top of the 140 from the previous 5, he's definitely doing all right. That I'm certain of. That I am certain of. What stinks, and again, this has nothing to do with Bryce Seffer, but it's kind of the same thing as the football, with you never know what the future is going to be. I just enjoyed it more, right? When say he's going to be the 12th guy on the roster or whatever. Yeah. Like that was more fun when it was. I know Kyle Cuff came into the portal, but, he was a guy that was here for a few years. You kind of knew him. Or I'm going way back. Like, Matt Gorman was just kind of here hanging out for a while. It's just like Mookie Jones. He was just here for a while. At least you knew the guys and had a vibe of their personality or whatever. Like, that's what stinks about this guy. Like, nobody's ever going to know him at all. And he's just going to be here and vanish. It was more fun when the guys that didn't play at least had a sense of who they are and what they were all about.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen anymore because what Syracuse brought in, the 6 guys, no one was left. No one made it to their senior year out of that class.
No. No.
Not a single one, right?
No. The only one that's going to be a senior here out of that class-ish is JJ. And he wasn't part of that. And he wasn't part of that class. I mean, I realize he was, but he wasn't. Everybody else is gone.
What does that tell you about the state of college athletics?
Yeah.
And 6 guys you would think he could mold. And, none of them are here.
Yes, that is a fact. That is a fact for sure. All right, let's hit a little.
Do we want to even talk about the 6-pack? Not yet. Not yet, right? Little lacrosse?
Yeah, I'd say a little lacrosse, or we could go to the 6-pack.
No.
The women did not go well for the women last night. That was.
I was at that game last night until halftime. There is definitely a tier of 3 teams. There's Carolina, Boston College, and Northwestern, and then everyone else. And BC is very good. Like they blitzed them in the first quarter, and it was over after that. So,
what are the women this year to you? Is this just like, a reset year where they're just really, really young, and this is kind of starting this is the end of the Megan and Emma. I know Emma Ward's still there, but this is the end of that era, and it just is a bit of a reset season.
You kind of came into the year, and we talked about this on Orange Nation a little bit on Tuesday. This was a team that came into the year relying on an Emma Ward and Olivia Adamson.
Yeah.
2 players that probably were going to register a bulk of your scoring. And you take out Olivia Adamson and what she had over 80 points or whatever last year. You take that out of the lineup and you're searching for answers. And SU yesterday against Boston College, there was 3 times they came down the field, and if it was either an offsides or an illegal screen set, you can't do that, and you credit that to being a young team. But, against the Boston colleges and against top 10 teams, SU has shown that, they're not on that level this year. And it's because they're young, and it's because they're missing the firepower of an Olivia Adamson and other players that they've had in the past. But, will they get back to that? Yeah, I think they have pretty good freshmen. The Trinkus girl is pretty good. And you go down the line as well. Molly Gusick is pretty good. So it's going to take time, but I would think next year that taking your lumps this year and to get back on track and hopefully bring in another good recruiting class.
That is the hope. They're it feels like after the last 2 games, they're probably trending toward the bubble. We'll see how that goes with the tournament. They played everyone in the country, so some of their numbers are still very good, and we'll see how that plays out.
You look 9-7, they were 16th. What they take 24? Is it 24
yeah, it's 24 in the women, so there's a lot more spots than the men. So people say, how could they make it? That's out.
First round upset, because Syracuse plays Stanford in that first round.
Yep.
I would think if you beat Stanford, you're in. So
yeah, that would be another solid win to toss on there. Then the men have Duke tomorrow. I don't know, the Cuse and Duke. That's just always good. That's my general expectation.
Yeah, flashes of the game in the Dome when oh my God, what's his name? Hit the game winner. This was 2019, was it? Maybe.
Let's see. 2017. Trimboli. Jamie Trimboli. He beat
Jamie Trimboli right in front of me.
Yes, he beat Duke back-to-back years at one point. That was his job.
But they don't have a win in Durham since 2018. I know they haven't played there that much, but still, Duke has won 3 out of the last 4 in the series. But as Gary said, they have 3 guys on the attack that are now playing in the PLL. So a little different Duke team that you're going to be seeing. not as high scoring of a Duke team. They do have losses recently to North Carolina, Notre Dame, and Denver. 3 out of their last 4 games. They did pick up a win during that time against Boston University, a Boston University team that has handed Army their only loss of the season. So a very important game if you're looking at trying to get a top 2 seed in the ACC tournament, and more importantly, kind of avoid that line of being an 8 or higher type seed, because realistically you want that Sunday night dome home game in the first round of the NCAA playoffs, which more and more likely, if they could put Army here, it could be a Syracuse-Army matchup if SU, loses one of these 2 games.
Yeah, Terry Foy of Inside Lacrosse put out a bracketology earlier this afternoon, and he had Syracuse as the 8 seed as of today. I think he had Army as like the 6, so he actually had Army ahead of Syracuse right now, and then Duke and Notre Dame were kind of 2 of the last at-large teams, so the ACC is kind of all jumbled up in there.
What do you make of an Army team that has wins as a win over North Carolina, but realistically, you're really not playing anyone in the Patriot League. So, how do you judge that? Yes, they have a good win over North Carolina, but Syracuse is about to play their 8th ranked opponent.
It's one where, and go figure, this is the one year they didn't play Syracuse, so we didn't get that early season. I look like
Colgate's another good win for Army. So
I'm sure they're really good. They've been really good for a while. Yeah. But it's tough, right? When you don't play that tough schedule, it is tough to crank that up in the playoffs. That said, if I'm Syracuse, man, that would be a terrifying first round matchup to get an Army team that knows how to win in your building. You don't want to deal with that. That has worked out poorly in the past. That has worked out poorly in the past.
This is the time though that this SU lacrosse team needs to show that they are the best team in the ACC.
Yeah.
Because coming into the year, you knew it wasn't a typical Duke team. You knew it wasn't a typical North Carolina team. And you saw it wasn't a typical Notre Dame team that you beat in, Virginia as well, having down year. So win that ACC, win these next couple of games and win the ACC and prove that you win the ACC, you should be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. If you go win, you go in the next 2 weeks, you got a great seed.
Yeah. So an opportunity lies ahead of you, and then you realistically wouldn't have to face those teams until for a trip to go to championship weekend.
All right, here we go. Let's fire up the 6-pack.
It's time for Mario to make you money.
Your money? You know what else? You're a big winner.
Or maybe not.
And it's gone. Money!
Here's the Sacco 6-pack.
Should we tell them how the 6-pack did last week, or just ignore that completely?
We went 0-6.
Yes.
Okay. I had a lot of flyers in those. Okay. But I did tell everyone to pick Rory to win. All right. So give me a little credit.
That's what we're leaning on. That was pre 6-pack because that had to happen before the tournament. But yes, you were on Rory, and then some other things happened on Friday.
When he was plus 1,400 to win, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't do anything about it. I got some NHL and baseball picks for you. Stanley Cup playoffs. Starting up. Let's go baseball first. Primetime matchup in Pittsburgh. The Pirates stink. Give me Cleveland minus 130. Skeens isn't pitching, so give me the Indians on the road at Pittsburgh. Yankees Rays. The over/under is 8.5. Rodon looked good last outing. He's like Jekyll and Hyde. I'm going over on the run total there of 8.5 against the Rays. And give me the Mets on the run line versus the Cardinals tonight plus 1.5. That should get you right around even money. So Cleveland, Yankees, Rays over 8.5. Mets run line plus 1.5. And then my 3 picks in the NHL. Give me the Leafs in game 1 against the Sens. Give me the Caps on the goal line against the Canadiens minus 1.5. And give me the Lightning against the Panthers at home minus 118. Is that one? If you got money now, go put it on the Caps because I think they're winning the Cup.
Okay, that would be that would be a way for Ovi to skate off into the into retirement if that's how it all.
Rolex watch from the Pittsburgh Penguins last night.
Oh, nice. All right, man. Enjoy your Easter weekend. We'll talk next week.
Happy Easter, buddy. Take care.
All right, there he is, Mario Sacco. The 6-pack has to bounce back this week. Nowhere to go but up. All right, we'll take a break. Phone lines open the rest of the way. 315-437-7644. For ESPN 44, we step aside in this hour, brought to you by William Attar. We're back after this on Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio. What did Mario say? Did he say the old name of the Guardians? Is that what happens? Yes, LA Orange. We have broken news today. Terrible, terrible news. Yes, Will Allen's. Maybe Will Allen should. Maybe we need a Ponzi scheme. Maybe we need to be pro Ponzi scheme. Yeah, I wonder, San Diego Cuse, right? You got to try, right? Use Trevor's money. It is, Tim, but that doesn't mean we can't complain about it. If we're not complaining about it, what are we doing? I mean, you may not have any choice, San Diego Cuse. Yeah, but that's not how complaining works, Tim. We must complain about the things that have gone wrong, not what's gone right.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, if you're late joining us here on this Friday, shame on you. Like, what are you doing? But anyway, that means you missed the news to start the show. Another member of the Orange football team is in the portal. Moran Watson, starting defensive tackle In the portal, the freshman All-American by some people that do those things. Exit a stage left. This one stings for me. Anyway, it feels like it stings even more than Trevor Pena. Because this one's young guy, Jersey, position of significant need. It's harder to get big guys. Yeah. This one stings, and we'll see how. Where's Fran at? Has he been tampered with? He will come for you. He looked dead straight in the camera when he said it too. It was terrifying. It was like he'd been training with Liam Neeson. He will come for you, SEC. Fran Brown. If you try to take his Murad Watson. Unfortunately, this is college sports these days. This is normal. It's not even the new normal anymore. It's just becoming normal, but it doesn't make it any less disappointing when you lose a guy of that caliber. And it's just, man, he's a freshman. Here, 1 year, gone. What? Okay. That's it. And then, he'll disappear into the ether, and that is that. All right, we'll take a break. Get back on time a bit. Hour 2 is next. Still the man that sort of knows. Your calls, 315-437-7644. All that on a Friday on this hour, brought to you by our friends at DVOffers.com. Hour 2 next. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio. That was the Bosom Buddies theme song at some point? All right. I mean, I celebrate Billy's entire collection, so. More Malik than Q for me, but yeah, Super Cat. Look, it's Mike. Mike is spinning a basketball on his finger.
See if we can tie it up.
All right. If that's what you want.
I'm up by 1, right? Yeah.
You are up by 1.
Serious.
Yeah.
This is like monumental because I think I've had this lead since like December time period.
Yeah, I think so.
So this could be a big moment.
And we didn't have this like very much before December.
No.
Because it came from the Christmas party. No, the Christmas party was in oddly early, wasn't it?
I think it was in December though, right? Like
was
the
it?
Christmas
Or was
party?
it
I didn't
November?
go. It was like an hour and a half away from where I lived. So
No, that oh yeah. Well, it was here. It was right down the street.
Oh, that was
2
that
years
the year
ago, we
before?
were at Turning Stone, yeah.
Yeah. Then I don't have an excuse. I just didn't go.
I don't remember what you were doing.
Not going. That's what I would say I was doing, not going. All right, let's get her going.
Fire it up.
Pitter patter. You know what it is? The last like 4 or 5 games, it's been like the opposite of what it usually is.
What is? You've had it turned?
Yeah. Because normally I reach across it to turn it on down here, and this lately I've been doing on this side. Related? I don't know.
They say one of the goals season.
But you know what? I flipped it back over, so if I win, we're on to something.
If you win, then we're just throwing this thing out.
You got it over there? Alrighty. Oh, yeah. You ready to roll? This is a big game. This is a big game, ladies and gentlemen.
It really is.
A lot going on here. Oh, crap. No.
Lost the stick.
I Jackson. Oh, casualty. I lost an eye.
That's what you get for playing without a stick.
Where did it go?
It's on the floor.
Oh, it's an eye. Thank God I have my x-ray specs on. Dang it. You are on a roll, man.
Roll even. Mike's blind.
Well, that was already a thing.
Blinder. Maybe it helped.
Dude, you have been
We're locked in. We're locked in. Q was fun to watch, Super Cat, yes. But, like, Q leaving was not an NIL thing, I don't think. Malik leaving was just,
315-437-7644. All right, we're good.
I'd like to think you could do that without the IG. Oh, man. Get him in the ring, San Diego Qs, or recruit him for defensive tackle. Ah, yes, Jordan. Tennessee game. You're right. December 4th. I forgot about that part of it. Maybe he's got eligibility left. World champs both, San Diego Qs.
BMW.
That we do. Hour 2 is afoot. Welcome in. Phone lines available rest of the way on this Friday. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Glad to have you in. News of the day, as it seemingly always is this time of year, involves the transfer portal. Day 3 of 10 of the spring portal window for football. 3 entrances today for the Orange. 2. One expected, one not shocking, and one that knocked our socks off a little bit. And unfortunately, nothing is shocking in this day and age, as we proved with the Pena news from earlier this week. But David Willaba in the portal, as we all knew was going to happen. Enrique Cruz, starting left tackle of a couple years ago in the portal. He barely played last year. Not shocking at all. And then at 4 o'clock today, we learned that a freshman defensive tackle, Murad Watson, is headed to the portal. He was an outstanding young player. That one stings. That one stings. You look at people, roles, harder things to replace on the team next year. A guy that stepped into a tough spot in the freshman and played really, really well on the D-line. Certainly once Tank Wilson went out last year, it was mostly him and Rashad Perry, 2 freshmen up there manning the middle most of the time. It's a tough one. It is a tough one to lose a guy like that. Now the Orange must move forward, and we'll see what they bring in here. Again, it's a weird time when you look at football roster construction. The House settlement, which still is not about the House of Representatives, which threw me for a loop. It's about an Arizona State swimmer whose name is House. That settlement has not yet been approved. What we are thinking is, and part of the sticking point is the roster limit stuff. Some people want it phased in, some want it whatever, but that seems to be the main sticking point. When this settlement involving NIL and the universities being able to do the rev share thing came down, obviously the main thing was the rev share, $20.5 million getting spread around. That's what caught your eye. The other thing was to take every sport and make the rosters work the same way, in which everybody on the team would be quote-unquote a scholarship player, and every scholarship would be handled the same way, in that you can do partial scholarships, you can do this, you can do that, but football would have a maximum of 105 roster spots that would go through. So in one way, we knew many people would have to hit the portal for Syracuse just to, in theory, trim the roster down, assuming that was going to get approved. you didn't want the starters to be included in that. You didn't want the starters to be included in that. And Murad Watson, man, this is now 2 starters where it's just you got to start thinking about it differently. Where it used to be you thought about the portal and people leaving is, all right, you want more playing time, you want this, you want that. Like there was clear on-field, on-court reasons, locker room reasons for going to the portal. Now, I could be wrong, but I've not heard anything about that in regards to Murad Watson. He's a New Jersey guy. We know that's Fran's bread and butter in recruiting. The Northeast, locking down the Northeast. I don't know if you've heard, Fran Brown's from Camden, New Jersey. I don't know if that's ever come up. And now you lose a New Jersey guy who was a big win. Syracuse fended off some major schools. Tennessee was sniffing around Murad. Like that was a big recruiting win for Fran Brown last year. And he was an important player and played a lot and played really well last year. It's not a guy that you'd think about leaving for football reasons. Maybe you didn't like Fran or that. I don't know. But my guess would be if that was the case, wouldn't you have left in December if you didn't enjoy your experience? I could be wrong. He hasn't said anything. We don't know yet. It has the feel of NIL. We'll see how fast or where he goes. I would, the SEC or some school that's well pocketed in NIL would make a lot of sense to me in this scenario. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's tough here because now it's really hard at this point for Fran to go find an equivalent. Yeah, there's literally thousands of players that have gone in the portal in football since Wednesday. Thousands. There's plenty of players out there. But there's not many out there like that are in your price range and this, that, and everything to go get one. It is tough to go get a player of that caliber at that position. It's tough. Again, that's the reason why he's leaving, I would presume, because a player of that caliber at that position of that age, ka-ching, like you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid. So we'll see. And this is the same thing I talked about with Bryce Zephyr the other day. You might say, what do Bryce Zephyr, Syracuse's now last man on the roster on the basketball team, and Murad Watson, a now former starting defensive tackle on the football team, have to do with each other? Because on the face of it, absolutely nothing would be the first thought. But this is where the lack of transparency, there is no parity, the lack of transparency of NIL, and not just of Syracuse, of everybody, is tricky. Because, as I said the other day about Zephyr, in the NBA, in pro basketball, there's a salary cap. If you want to know anybody's salary in the history of pro sports, you Google their name, add the word salary, hit enter, and multiple websites will pop up with all of the factual information. If you want to do the same thing for these guys, and this is not about sniffing around their money, this is about just understanding how funds are being allocated amidst a roster. It's not about trying to get all up in their money. I'm perfectly fine and happy for them to get their money. It's not about that. This is about understanding funds allocation, because it would be really nice to know, just to understand, what was Murad making here? What did they do to his quote-unquote salary that's not a salary, and say after the season to try to entice him to stay here? And then what's he going to make from somewhere else next year? It may be stark, it may be shocking, but it would be really good to know that as a fan, just to understand what's going on. Because we all, I think, sort of understand what's going on, but when you can't really eye it up and you're just guessing, it becomes a lot harder to take in. Like if we knew, and again, just we're making up numbers. If we knew Murad, say Murad was making X. Let's use variables. So say he made X last year as a freshman. Say Syracuse looked at his season last year and said, Murad, you were great last year. We really want you to stay Syracuse Orange for your whole career. I know you made X last year. Here is 3X. Again, hypothetical math. What if he goes now? What if he goes from X to 3X to 6X? I have no idea what he's getting. And Syracuse, if you try to match that, now you all of a sudden you run out of money for other players. Like, this is what's going on. And then to not be able to see it as fans and observers of the program, it becomes hard to understand what's happening, which makes it, I just think, trickier to root for these, because it was like, okay, I get it. Murad Watson, he's gonna go bye-bye. He's gonna fade into the ether. We're all gonna forget his existence probably in a few months or a year. It's just another guy that was here and was gone. The why, like, we all think we know the why, but to completely put together the why, it's stuff like that would be nice to know, and it's stuff like that we may never know in the way that it is known at professional sports. We may never know. At least the way the system's set up now, it is not anything that needs to be released. Again, it's not about getting all up in their money. It's not about that. It's about just trying to understand what's going on. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more of your calls on this Friday, 315-437-7644, and a little bit of the man who sort of knows. See if we can't make you some money heading into this Easter weekend. We'll step aside. We're back next. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Yeah, you want a 3X your salary, Super Cat? One and a half? I'll take it. Anything X. As long as it's bigger than one. Yeah, let's make it transparency. We need more transparency in our sports. Without transparency, it will become a parody. We're going to have to let somebody know about that, Mike. We need more transparency. We need it. We must have it. Yeah, and less poaching. Yeah, that's what stinks. Like the spring, like none of this is happening because of the intent any of these rules were put in it for. Like, the intent of the spring portal window is for, like, say you lost out on a job, like, say you were in a quarterback competition in spring and you lost. The intent was so you could transfer and have a chance to compete. Now it's being used to get paid. Like, I don't mind people getting paid, but, like, the lack of any contracts that have any binding time period is just like... Yes. For the other schools, it's a sport-wide solution. Yeah, the Wild West, you at least might run into Wyatt Earp every now and again. Yeah, good poached egg, man. If you can get the yolk the way you like it. My headphones just got into an exotic tangle. We almost had to cancel the rest of the show. It was, I mean, there was almost no end to it. We've solved the situation. Everything is fine, and we can proceed forward. Touch and go there for a second, but we're gonna make it. We think as we roll ahead on this Friday. 315-437-7644 be the number if you'd like to join in. You know, I was just thinking out loud during the break, as we always do during our breaks at QSportsTalk.com, YouTube and Twitch. Hang out in the chat. The fun never stops on QSportsTalk.com. What's wild about the portal and NIL is the unintended consequences of so many things. On the face of it, players getting paid when, the universities and coaches have been keeping all the money off their backs for 100 years. Oh, great. All for it. Transfer portal, freedom of movement, like anybody else can change colleges whenever they feel like it. Great. All for it. But, unintended consequences, right? The intent of the spring portal window for football was that, all right, say you're in a quarterback battle. And you've got limited time in college and you want to play some football. Say you're in a quarterback battle and you lose the quarterback battle in the spring. Like Michael Johnson did at Syracuse here this year. Like he was in the battle, didn't get the job, was the third string quarterback and wants to go somewhere else where he might be able to play. All right, cool. Hits the portal. That was the intent of the spring portal window. What the spring portal window has become, it is that, and that's great. That's good. That's fine. All well and good. Wish him and people like that the best going forward, and find your spot. That was the intent of the spring portal window. What it has become, though, for many, it's a second chance to negotiate your contract. The spring portal window, like these contracts are literally month to month. Like before the season, and then again in December, and then you negotiate your contract again in April. Like it's just not how sports contracts work in sports that have been, and this is the key word here, collectively bargained with their employees. Until those words happen in college sports, none of this is stopping. Until those words happen, or until there is finally some blowback with the money. But right now there's so much money with TV rights and willing donors and whatever. Like we ain't at that point yet. But until something is collectively bargained with contracts and employees, like this stuff ain't going away.
Could we have the money now?
I'm telling you, it's a lock.
What if there was a restaurant that didn't serve any food and just served up gambling?
Father was a mutter. His mother was a mutter.
I thought gambling was illegal.
Not if no one sees you do it.
Guaranteed bets.
The man is a gambler.
Results not guaranteed.
Pay that man his money.
It's the man who sort of knows.
All right, some Easter weekend picks here from the man that sort of knows. 2 and 3 last week for the man. We've got one on the diamond tonight, one on the NBA basketball court tonight, and then 3 more in the National Basketball Association, spanning the weekend as we start the NBA playoffs. We'll start the diamond tonight. It's the Reds and the Orioles. Yes, the Reds offense has been scorching hot of late. They've scored 4 or more runs in 6 of their last 7 games. Why am I telling you that, you may ask? Tonight, the Reds' run line is 4. But the man that sort of knows says take the under. Why? Because the O's are tossing a lefty, Cade Povich, and the Reds, they can't hit lefties. No, they're betting 114 this year against lefties. So against the lefty, take the Reds on the under tonight, scoring fewer than 4 runs. NBA tonight, Mohamed Gueye, is that how you say his name? He's a large man who plays for the Hawks. They will be taking on the Heat tonight in the NBA play-in. The winner gets to lose to Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs. Neither here nor there, because you're taking Gueye over 4.5 rebounds versus Miami tonight. Why are you doing that? Well, he's been rebounding like a demon of late. And if you look at the last month of the season, he's been averaging 6.5 rebounds a game in the month of April. This is the month of April. So do that. NBA tomorrow, Bucks Pacers opening round of their game. The total points in that game right now sits at 235. The Bucks Pacers, in their last 13 meetings, 12 of those times they've scored more than 235 points. 12 of 13 games, it's gone over that. Take the over, Bucks Pacers tomorrow. And Sunday, we have eyes on the defending champions, the Celtics, as they host the Magic in Game 1 of their playoff series. 2 things to look at in that game. The first is Jason Tatum. His rebound total is 8.5. You may say, that's a lot for Jason Tatum. Except in the playoffs, Tatum hits the glass. Last year, as the Celtics won the championship, Tatum went over 8.5 rebounds in 15 of the Celtics' 18 playoff games last year. His minutes go up, his rebounds go up. Take Jason Tatum over 8.5 rebounds tomorrow against the Magic, or Sunday against the Magic. And finally in that game, the Celtics opened the series Game 1, a 13.5-point favorite against Orlando. You may say that's a lot of points. It is a lot of points. Except go back to 2014. First round favorites of 8.5 points or more are 60% against the spread. The big favorites in the opening round, it's usually a significant mismatch. The favorites win those games. They're 89-14 in games like that and have covered the spread 60% of the time. So take the Celtics to cover on Sunday. To recap, the Reds under 4 runs tonight. Mohamed Gueye over 4.5 rebounds tonight. Bucks Pacers over 235 tomorrow. Jason Tatum over 8.5 rebounds Sunday. And the Celtics to cover against the Magic in Game 1. And that, my friends, is what the man that sort of knows thinks he knows this week. With that, we'll take a break. When we come back, one last 411 here before our Easter weekend. We'll do that next. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. It's very turquoise, QCT. It is excitingly turquoise.
I had a mental breakdown earlier today on the way to work.
Okay.
Now,
I'm glad to see you've recovered.
The show was very popular when I was a kid, so if you hadn't watched it, I won't blame you. But did you ever watch That's So Raven in the early 2000s?
No, I've heard of it, but no.
Okay, so the concept is she's psychic, and she sees she sees the future, and then she acts accordingly. But the concept of the show is her reacting to her seeing the future makes her do things that cause the future to happen. So what if she just, like, after like the fourth or fifth time, you're going to be like, this only happens because I make it happen. I'm just not going to do it. So then at that point, can you see the future or can you not see the future? With that being said, is she just a master manipulator that is projecting what she wants to happen and then she's making sure it happens? So she's either a lie or she is psychic and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, the whole concept of the show just falls apart on itself. This was the this was the realization I came through driving to work today. I didn't look up anything beforehand or after, and then I just sat there and thought about it for like 30 straight minutes.
That's so Mike.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Actually, it really is so Mike.
I know.
That happens.
It all fit. Yeah, I feel good about
that was
myself.
Good. You should be proud of that.
I am proud, yeah. I was waiting.
But this show's a lie.
I had it early, but I was waiting for you to see. I let you go because we just said let it hang there.
And then they make like a sequel show like 20 years later. You're telling me no one brought this up in 20 years?
Is it still So Raven?
I don't know. I think it got canceled though. They even did a spinoff with Corey.
That's
in the house.
no longer Raven. Yeah, I somebody come up with a new idea.
Which Corey in the House was actually pretty good. That came out like a few years after. And one of my favorite moments of television history was the president's son became friends with Corey because his dad is like the chef for the president. Like, that's the whole concept.
Sure.
But the president's son is like spoiled. But he loves Corey, and Corey hates him, but he's got to deal with him because he's the president's son. And at one point, he ends up sleeping in Corey's bed because he has to babysit him, and he keeps farting in it. And Corey's getting really mad. He goes, "I promise I'll stop." And then he farts again. He goes, "That was just to say hello." And that that joke just resonated with me. Every time I think about Disney Channel or anything related, I think of that moment of that episode.
That's so Mike.
Don't let me go off on tangents. Oh, I forgot my phone. I'll be right back.
Oh, yes, Jordan, yes. That's so Mike. I cracked myself up.
Hey, don't forget there's no Cody today.
Got it. He's not coming up before me?
No.
I'm going to start saying that a lot now.
Coming up before you?
No, that's so Mike.
I mean, I'm pretty consistent. Well, that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know.
It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
You know it. It's Friday. Easter weekend. Which means it's time for this.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
I'll tell you what's going on. The 411's brought to you by our friends at Superior Plus Propane. Good night for grilling.
Yeah, it really is.
Get your propane.
I wore shorts today.
You're still wearing them.
Yeah, I'm still wearing shorts.
And for that, we're thankful. Yes. I am wearing. We're opposite. You have long sleeves, short pants. I have long pants and short sleeves.
I feel like we've had this sort of conversation before.
Yeah, this is a normal occurrence.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent with you going short sleeve pants and me going shorts hoodie.
Yes.
I'm just too consistent with the hoodie. That's on me. I need to diversify.
I mean, do what you want. It's not a criticism. It's more of an observation.
You're right. I'm back in. That's the support I needed, bro.
Wow. You got out of.
Team
Mike
hoodie.
stopped wearing hoodies there for a quarter of a second. I was more commenting on the fact that that's what you had on than telling you to stop wearing it.
No, I'm not going to.
No.
So,
that feels very defiant now, and I don't like it.
Couldn't do without your support.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just really going.
You're all over the lot on this right now, and I don't know where to start.
I'm really going through it. I just had a realization that That's So Raven is a lie. She's not psychic. She's just a liar and a master manipulator, and it's just really affected the rest of my day.
It really has. He won't stop talking about it.
But 8 days.
8 days for Mike of no nicotine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's been great. Every day I feel healthier. This isn't what this segment was about, but it made me think of that.
Okay.
Every day I feel healthier. I'm very happy. Soon the addiction will be beat, and I'll be a brand new man.
Go, Mike.
Woo! Anyways, so viewership, NHL, it's been up consistently.
Those things go together.
The last 3 years, they've jumped in numbers every year. This season, across all 32 teams' home games, 96.9% capacity on average throughout the league, the highest it's ever been.
That sounds good.
Pretty cool, pretty exciting stuff. I wanted to talk to you about it because do you think hockey's been around forever at this point?
Ever since they froze the ice, yes.
That's darn tootin'.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think hockey's done something different, or do you think the other sports, i.e. NBA, has gone in an opposite trajectory, causing hockey to kind of fill a void in a way?
Well, it's been on ESPN.
That it has.
Very specifically, like the last 3 years now. Where before that it was on NBC and NBC Sports Network for many years, and now ESPN and Turner share the rights. I think that's probably a part of it. I wouldn't know if that's the attendance part of it, but that's got to be part of a TV ratings thing, and then. We know this, when things are on ESPN, they get pushed on ESPN. So I think that's part of it. I would say this, like Hockey Live, Hockey Live's great. Like go to a hockey game. It is the sport that I think jumps the most by in-person viewing versus television.
I completely agree. The only other one,
great place to wear a hoodie.
Yes, and a chaqueta.
Yeah, because of the ice.
It's cold.
Bad place to wear shorts.
Well, man's not hot, Brian.
Okay. Because, again, the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Temperatures, cool temperatures. The only sport I would say personally for me that I feel like the same way of don't really like watching on TV, love watching in person is baseball. Because baseball, for me, it's too slow paced to be able to watch on TV. I'm going to stay on my phone. I'm going to walk out of the room. I'm going to go check the laundry, maybe do some dishes. I'm just going to get distracted. But in person, any sporting event you put me in, I'll be there. I'll be locked in, engaged the entire time.
I might say that's a great reason why to have baseball on TV. You can get a lot done.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Multitasking.
I mean, if you're locked in on like the hockey playoffs on TV, you might forget your laundry's in the dryer.
That is very true, which I have a very bad habit of doing, whether I'm watching baseball or not.
Somehow this does not surprise me.
No, I got to set my alarms.
You have hoodies in the dryer right now, don't you?
No, because I grabbed all my laundry out of my dryer and folded it right before I left my house today.
Wow, what a moment.
Because I did some laundry this morning.
Okay, wow, same day folding.
Oh, yeah.
Look at you.
That's a talent that has, been developed. Because if I don't same day fold,
it's like a month.
It's like a month. Everything's going to be wrinkly. I'm going to look disgusting. You got to pull your life together, and it starts with laundry.
Okay.
Making your bed, laundry,
Nicotine.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore, baby.
The big three.
The big three. So Lee Corso announced his retirement from College Game Day yesterday. His last show is going to be in August.
Could it be for the Syracuse game?
Potentially.
Maybe.
Potentially, it could be. What a time, though, to go
That would be kind of wild.
That would be really fun because, for me, and I'm much more of a casual college football fan compared to a lot of other sports fans. Everybody knows who Lee Corso is. You know what I mean? When I think of College Game Day, it's Lee Corso, outfits, and then Pat McAfee for me these days.
Yeah, and as much as this probably should have happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 90 and obviously had a stroke a while ago, and the whole thing. Good for ESPN giving him the leash on it and not forcing the issue. He's a legend. He more than anything else is the reason that show became what that show is. Obviously, there's a lot of other good people that have worked on the show. Herb Street's been there forever. Fowler and Reese Davis. Now you got Saban and McAfee. Like, there's plenty of people that have done well on the show. But it's hard. What do you think of when you think of the show? You think of Corso putting on the headgear or shooting off the guns or doing just crazy stuff. And he was great. Absolutely great. So great that he gets to go out on his own accord. That said, it was getting a little tough.
Yeah,
he's 90 years old, and but good for him. And maybe it will be serious. Like, I'm trying to look up what other games are that weekend. Clearly, there's always some first weekend games. It's not crazy they'd be at the kickoff event in Atlanta. That'd be something.
I would love to be able to meet a professional like Lee Corso once in my life. Maybe one day.
Shot at the rest of us. We're all getting paid.
You're a professional.
Yeah, just not like Lee Corso.
Well, you're not 90.
I am not. Oh, you just want to meet an old person that has a job?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of 90-year-olds that still have jobs.
No, that's.
I guess in today's market more than ever, probably.
Well, yes,
it's getting tough out there.
Retirement and all.
I'm gonna retire one day. My mom just retired about 3 months ago.
Congrats to Mike's mom.
It is. I was very happy for her. I asked her, I was like, "What's it like to be retired?" And she's like, "It's only been a few months. I've been so busy. I don't know yet." And she's like, "I haven't woken up one day with nothing to do. I'm still. It's like I haven't retired yet.
I'm too busy being retired to."
She's a grandma. She's a mom. A wife. She loves cleaning. I swear to God, nobody likes cleaning more than my mom. She cleans every day. She's like the type of person, if you leave a bowl in the sink, she's like, "Why the heck did you not put it in the dishwasher?" But she's not gonna make you do it. She's just gonna do it herself. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But we have to have a talk before we get out of here because we kind of glossed over it yesterday. And I wanted to apologize to not only you, but the people of the greater Syracuse area.
Okay.
Last week, I
accept your apology. I don't even know what for.
I wasn't thinking straight last week. I said that Curry has an argument to be the GOAT. And
I probably said something like, what?
Yeah, and
I love Steph Curry.
And at first I was like, man, he really does have an argument. His titles, his MVPs, his ability to stop LeBron at numerous times throughout his career. I was like, maybe he does have an argument. But then I remembered of how I feel with Tom Brady and how I feel with Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes debatably is a better quarterback than Tom Brady, but I can't say he's the GOAT because he couldn't beat him. Seeing LeBron's 3-1 comeback over, in my opinion, the greatest assembled roster in NBA history, I can't give it to Steph. That comeback is just different.
I'm glad you've come around.
Yeah, and I need to apologize to everybody out there.
As you should.
Everybody's really up in arms about it, so it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I've been out and about in the community, and they're like, that Mike guy. All right, I've pulled up the opening week schedule for college football. I now don't think Lee Corso's coming.
No.
This is a hell of an opening week. LSU Clemson in Death Valley. Which Death Valley, you might ask? In Clemson's Death Valley. Texas, Ohio State at the Shoe.
That's another good one.
Ohio State, Brutus, the mascot for Ohio State, is the most worn mascot head by Corso, so that could be just one more time.
E2 Brute.
Yeah, no, one more time. What was the other one? This one would have probably been in the mix, let's say, for last season. Florida State's hosting Alabama, so I don't know if Syracuse, Tennessee's going to, unless he just has decided that Corso loves Fran Brown. They'll be at Texas.
A lot of people
State,
have decided that as of late.
I mean, who doesn't love Fran Brown?
Say what you want. No matter how this tenure of Fran Brown goes, I've never seen more eyeballs on Syracuse football in my lifetime.
No, it's wild.
I couldn't watch very much in the early 2000s and late 90s, being on that I was like between the ages of 1 and 4. But my recognizable memory, I've never seen more eyeballs on Syracuse.
No, it's been something here the last 16 months. Yeah, maybe Corso will be like, I want to put on a Fran Brown head. Yeah, we got a call. Let's take a call. Oh, it's about Lee Corso. This is On Topic. Look at you introducing a topic that has led to a phone call. Marty in Tampa. What's up, Marty?
Hey, Brian. I want to give you a quote. This is a Lee Corso connection to Syracuse. This is a book.
Okay.
The story of the 1959 Syracuse University National Championship football team by Gary Yeomans and Morty Yeomans, who played on the team. Now, granted, this was 2003, but here is the preface to the book in the opening pages. And I quote, "I remember that the most impressive thing about the 1959 Syracuse team was their defense. It was one of the best I've seen or coached against in all of my years. That team had a combination of power where they could stuff the run and enough speed that they could go sideline to sideline. Syracuse ran down most of our plays to the outside. Also, when we tried to throw the ball, they had tremendous pass rush and hurried our passer. If we did complete a pass, they had somebody around the ball all the time. It was an extremely well-coached football team, the best I've ever seen when it comes to total defense. Running, toughness, and the ability to rush the passer. They had no weaknesses at all. Lee Corso, ESPN football commentator, Maryland assistant coach in 1959.
Okay, I just pulled it up. Yeah, that was his. Man, would have been young Lee. He would have been 24 years old. He was Maryland's quarterback coach, way back then. Awesome pull there, Marty. I like that. Very cool. Okay, yeah.
Thanks for letting me read it.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you, Marty. Good memory to know that was in there, Marty, pulling that from a 20-year-old book. Yeah, Lee Corso. As we all know, he went to Florida State. He graduated in 57. He was a GA there in 58. First full-time job was with Maryland, 59 to 65. Then he went to Navy and coached for a few years. That's why he always picked Navy whenever they did the Army-Navy game. Then head coach Louisville, head coach Indiana, Northern Illinois for a year. The Orlando Renegades. Yeah, that must have been. Was that the USFL? Yes, that was the USFL. He went 5-13, not so good. And then television ever since. He said his goal was, Mike, he said his goal was he wanted to be the Dick Vitale of football.
I think he accomplished
I think he accomplished exactly that.
Do you think him and Betty White ever ran in the same circles?
Just because they were old people?
Yeah, but they also... yeah, but they were also like
that is top. Ageist, sir.
But they were at the top of their respective... You know what I mean?
Why would Lee Corso and Betty... Maybe.
I mean, if I was Betty White, I would love to meet Lee Corso and vice versa.
Okay, I'm just going to... Google Lee Corso.
I hope you find an article that talks about how good of friends they were.
White. These are results for Lee Corso and Betty White. Lee Corso has become college football's Betty White.
That was what made me answer that question.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're...
What's not coming up is anything with both Lee Corso and Betty White.
I just feel like they both got, like, equal amount of respect. Like, they both, like, if Lee Corso and Betty White would have walked in the same room, like, 10 years ago, they both would have had the same level of aura. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They just draw eyes to themselves.
Okay.
I don't know.
You may be being ageist right now.
It's a possibility.
I think it could be. If we, I'm a little.
Another phone call.
There's another call. Wow, there's lots of people that want to talk about life and
checking on your bracket real fast for the NBA after you work so hard on it. You're still 100%.
Wow.
We are.
Helps there were no games yesterday.
Yeah, we're one game.
I'm cruising
away from where we were.
I'm 2 for 2. You can't stop me. You can't stop me in my half-assed NBA predictions. What did I end up with? The Celtics over the Thunder.
Yeah,
I
believe so.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
I mean,
it honestly really is reasonable.
Yeah, like I didn't go rogue on that one.
You went with the higher seeds pretty consistently, but
it's not an NCAA tournament bracket where you're just picking upsets and crazy. This is the NBA playoffs. They usually know who's going to win before the series starts.
Well, I mean, according to some fans, everybody does. It's scripted, man.
Right. I just scripted it. Celtics over the Thunder.
You do work for ESPN.
It's true. Kevin from Liverpool wants to know if Lee Corso ever put on a Betty White head.
I bet.
Could that have happened at some point? Probably not. There's no call there anymore.
There isn't.
I guess we scared them away. All right. There we are. Another scintillating edition of the 411.
This one was everywhere today.
I mean, yeah. You go back.
Can I just recap?
I don't know if you could.
Raven's a lie.
All right.
Go on.
My new slogan is this. If you weren't with us during the break, here's my new slogan. That's so Mike.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. We'll take a break. What's on tap next? Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
I admittedly didn't have a lot today.
Well, we made it. That's so Mike.
That's so Mike, but that's so Kobe.
You too, Super Kid. The Giants currently seem interested in everyone that's ever played quarterback. They may have an all-quarterback roster. In a few weeks, just only quarterbacks. See you, Gavenda. I've lost track of Passover. Is today the last night? It's either today or tomorrow, I think, San Diego Q's. 2 was enough. Thanks, Tim. Last night's tonight.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Back to put the final wraps on it here on this Friday.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
Oh, what do we have on tap tonight? Yankees on deck coming up shortly. Jordan will be in for that. Yanks getting set for the second of 4 with the Rays. Entering tonight, riding a 4-game winning streak. The sweep of the Royals and took care of the Rays in Game 1 of the series last night. 6-3 was the final score of that game. Carlos Rodon on the hill tonight for the Yankees, as again it will be at Steinbrenner Field at the Yankees spring training facility, which is the Rays' home field for this season because their roof of Tropicana Field no more. So, that's what's going on tonight. Yankees on deck will be coming up next. Crunch to follow that tonight as well. Tomorrow, Cuse Duke Lax. That will be a 2 o'clock face-off down at Koskinen Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Pregame for that at 1:30. All of that can be heard over on TK99 with Tim and Kyle, who are down in Durham right now. Going to be a beautiful day tomorrow in Durham from all accounts. Looking forward to that game. A big one in the ACC, a big one. Two teams that are like in the NCAA tournament, but you don't want to screw it up right now. That could be a bubblish situation going forward. So a big game on the Lax Field tomorrow. Again, the thin line between being like a top 5 seed and out of the tournament in NCAA cross is right there. And we'll see if the Orange can't lay claim to being the best team in the ACC over the course of the next couple weeks. That's going to do it for today. Have a great Easter weekend, everybody. We'll be back at it right here Monday, 4 o'clock, ESPN Radio and QSportsTalk.com.
This is Orange Nation.